one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Millions of peaches, peaches for me. Welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. How you doing? I am Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. Welcome in, everybody. We got people pouring into the chat tonight. We got Rebel Yell. Not really looking. I guess that's about it so far. I guess we're getting people starting to pour in right now. So I'm sure DJ and Moonboy is going to be here and a lot more. We got Scrubhead coming in. I think we got to take a break with Jake already, maybe watching in the background. So welcome in, everybody. We got a big show for you tonight. And we're going to talk about, once again, these memes on PulseChain, and especially the ones that are promoted by the Tang Gang, the HOA gang. We're going to talk about those tonight because those, they're dominating the chain right now. Every time these guys release one, we just had, of course, Peach, the newest one, just come out the other night, and it's done many X's already. So we're going to talk about that network effect and how maybe one could play those in the optimum way. And, if they're making too many of them. People have talked about the dilution effect as well. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Ethereum ETF, if and when we're going to get it, and why if Ethereum continues just to perform like basically dog dung against Bitcoin. We got stuff going on with Trump and crypto. We've got the Manet initiative with Gary, Rag, some other people within the PulseChain community. Huge updates to 9-inch and a lot more. We're going to get to all that stuff. So hope you guys are all good. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
Feeling good. I'm seeing some green candles. Definitely helps the mood of all people. And, it's funny. I don't want to say taking a break, just kind of hiding in the shadows. I don't really ever say a whole lot on Twitter or X. I kind of lurk in the background and just to try and get a pulse of what's going on and see. But, it's been nice. It's been nice to kind of just step back and not really look at it too much, get away from things. We know things are going to be sideways market here for probably a few months. So it's good to take that mental break, and it's definitely rewarding to not be self-absorbed into a lot of that drama that you see, the fighting between the different groups. We're going to talk about the different groups and how everybody's kind of got their own thing going on, but they always battle back and forth. It definitely creates some interesting topics for discussion. So, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, and I think what you just said kind of will lead us into what the market is doing overall right now, because I agree with you. It feels like, we may be gearing up for the normal Bitcoin cycle, the right translated cycle, as we would say. A lot of people were fearing a left translated one and the things were going to happen too quick and not go high enough this year. But now, time frame wise, things seem to be settling down a little bit. And that's why I think you and I are both finding this time right now in this lull a little bit more palatable, because it's like, well, now we're starting to feel more confident that the payoff may be there. There is, something at the end of the rainbow, so to speak, and it'll, come at the time that we typically expect, hopefully. So I'm with you there. Just shouting out the poll question real quick. When it comes to meme coins, and again, we're talking about the epic ones that are performing on PulseChain right now, what percentage of your portfolio is dedicated to meme coins? Do you have 5% or less? So just a couple of flyers basically in your portfolio. Are you at 10 to 20%? So you have a bag that is probably growing in size. Maybe you didn't intend for it to be 20%, but it's becoming that way because they're all just performing so well. Or are you in the true degen, 20 to 50%? You're confident, you're okay with the risk, you don't mind that, and you think they're going to take off this cycle. So we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin sits right now at what, 66K. So it's come back up somewhat significantly. I didn't even realize that 8% in the last day. ETH now back over 3K, but again, ETH still struggling against Bitcoin. So let's talk about that quick thing that we can look at Bitcoin in the short term, Ewok, but also with the cycles. I know everybody here loves Bob Lucas. He was kind of talking the other day about how things are starting to settle down. And while he did slightly maybe favor a left translated cycle before, now the things are mellowing out, settling down, maybe just a normal cycle like we're more accustomed with to BTC. So, what do you make of this? And I like me, I'm sure you're hoping for a regular time frame here.
Well, yeah, I have not been a favor of the left translated cycle. I haven't thought that yet. I mean, there was a lot of things that really needed to happen first before I would have been swayed in that direction. I thought things would, just be a normal cycle where, we are seeing it. The halving happened. We're seeing some sideways growth. And, you get a couple of these little green candles. Like I said, this one here, just today's candle is up quite considerably. It's a nice little, what is that? 8%.
That's what I saw earlier. Yeah, 7 or 8%. Yeah,
8% today, 7.5-ish. But yeah, it's it's doing the thing. I don't think we're gonna pass this 72,000 area, and it'll be tight to go up past this 67.3. If it makes a higher low, then look out, it could go even further, but I don't think it's going to. I think we're gonna play around in this channel, between probably 70 and 57 for a little while before it pulls back down, and then we'll get a nice rally. But yeah, I mean, they're showing strength. I think a lot of that again has to do with the market manipulation of the bigger players, the BlackRocks that are involved, the ETFs, things like that. People are moving some money. There's a lot of things in the the financial side, the traditional FI side of things that could be causing this too. So yeah, I mean, it's again, I just think we're gonna play around in this channel. It's gonna be a little boring for a little while, probably a couple more months. I don't think it's gonna break the all-time high unless something crazy happens. But just a lot of sideways channel movement.
I agree with you. I think Bitcoin just ran up too high at the beginning of the year. We always talk about how well it did in that first quarter, probably prompted by the ETF. So I do think we'll see Bitcoin continue to kind of just chop around and pull back and stay likely in that channel too. We had some good insights from Axis Alive last week when he was on our show, just about how, and we've already been talking about how we may need to be a bit more patient in this cycle here. And he gave some good insights about that. I mean, for a long time, he's been espousing this idea of potentially going into 2026 actually slightly for this cycle, like by spring of 2026 topping out. And I don't know that will happen, but I mean, I think we do need to start getting more comfortable, luckily, with the idea of a regular cycle now, just because we are seeing things pull back. We're seeing Ethereum do nothing, kind of transitioning into that. So, I mean, Ethereum, here's the thing. I guess you can look at it that way and say that Ethereum is doing nothing or performing badly against BTC. It's even pulled back over the last week. It's down, the ratio is down to like 0.45 or something right now. So it's as bad as it has been in quite some time. But I think it's more so a result of how well BTC has performed. I don't think it's that Ethereum itself has been doing so badly. I mean, I get you can look at it either way, I guess. It's a ratio. But no one really expected Bitcoin to hit an all-time high in the first quarter of 2024. I mean, it was pretty clear that it was spurned by the ETF approvals and stuff like that. Who knows what else was involved with that. But I think that's the reason we're seeing Ethereum perform so badly. And then on the other side of it, we have the Ethereum ETF approvals pending. There's one supposedly this month. There's one coming in August. Pretty much everybody feels that it's a guarantee that they'll get rejected this month. I'm sure it will by the SEC. This is literally exactly how it's going to go. And I know you know this as well as I do, Ewok. They're going to deny the ETH ETF in May. Maybe we'll see it bleed even a little bit more. So Gary and everybody in the SEC and whoever else in the government can load up their pockets. Then it'll get approved in August, I think. I think that's what we're starting to see a timeline for. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm just seeing how I'm just trying to draw some channels here where this or how long this could really chop out for. And it
Mhm.
does kind of play into if it stays within this channel for that long until it kind of comes to a point, you are looking at the end of July, August area if we get continuation on this channel movement. Um, yeah, I agree totally. I think the one this month will get denied. It will give them time to fill up their bags and all their friends and everything like that before
Yeah.
they actually say, okay, let's do it. And then you're going to see a run up. It's going to be pretty epic, I think. So it may not be a bad idea to fill up your Ethereum bags. Again, you should always watch what people do, not what they say. And if you can find some people like, I think JP Morgan, they have some publicly known wallets, some of the bigger entities that are out there. There's a way to look them up. I forget. I'm sure if you Google JP Morgan's Ethereum address, you'll find something.
Right.
Take a look, see what they're doing. Go to Etherscan and see if they are buying and see, some of the larger things that are happening. Um, I think you'll find that they probably are. Be a good sign for you to probably load up on some of it as well. If you have Hex, especially that's still on the Ethereum chain, it may be a good idea to get it while you can. And save it for some of those fees that you may need to have later for when your stuff comes ready to unstake and the market may not be as favorable. The gas prices may not be 5 like they are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
I haven't looked today to see what they are, but
5
I know it
right now.
was it 5. Okay,
4 or 5 right now.
Yep, it's been even down to 3
Mhm.
at one point. So quite favorable. M- I would love to think that PulseChain has something to do with that. It was always part of
Yeah.
the goal, right? To relieve some of those fees by moving some of the things over. I don't think that's the case right now. I think it's just kind of the boredom in the markets that are causing it. But yeah, I mean, I can see us chopping around in this channel until it's time to really break out from it. And again, it could be, extended a little bit into August. But, when they give that green light, it's going to be a very similar situation to what Bitcoin was. Excuse me. When did that get approved? You remember the date?
Oh boy, I don't even remember now. Was it like March or something?
Yeah, I think it was. I think there was a pre-notion. People started to know about it back in, this is what, February 7th, 8th. And it
Oh,
really
actually, it
ran
says
up.
January. I guess it
Was it
says January, actually.
was it January?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess maybe there was just, a bigger move of Bitcoin's price after that, but it says January. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that would be the bottom of everything kind of right here is January 22nd. So
Right.
I don't know the date, but you could see a substantial run up when that happens for Ethereum. So
Mhm.
again, watch what people are doing, not really what they're saying. Even though they're denying it now, it's probably because they're filling up their bags. So just
Yeah.
be cautious and use your DCA skills to get in.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing. Yeah, I think that's definitely how they're going to play it, and we'll just have to be patient on that. But yeah, for everybody that's still, really crapping on ETH and thinking that it's dead and not, I don't. Anybody saying that at this point is just somebody who is a Bitcoin maxi and kind of has that. I don't know what you would say the Trump derangement syndrome is for somebody who
Mhm.
thinks like, orange coin good, maybe. I don't know
Yeah.
what you would say for Bitcoin maxis, but I mean, they genuinely want everything else to die. So, yeah, I wouldn't pay much attention to any of that rhetoric.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
looking at PulseChain though, so let's turn our attention to our ecosystem. This is very odd because during our stream we usually have a dip. We actually have a little wee bit of a pump right now, so a modest one, maybe a pump for ants, as some may say. But we do have Pulse itself sitting at 40% below SAC rate, 4 zeros and a 6. We got Pulse X still down 74-ish% from the SAC rate. Incentive token sits at 321. Hex is at 9/10 of a penny. and EHEX at about 0.2 of a penny, a little below, to basically where it's been for a long time. But EHEX has been moving up a lot though. So yeah, interesting to see where we're at. We're having a little bit of upwards movement, and you and I were discussing, I think, with a certain DJ Moonboy, I think it was this past Friday morning. He was messaging with us back and forth about like, hey, the markets are starting to pump. I think like, we're leaving this area right now. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact words, but like it feels like we're, coiling up to move up basically, and that this little period of being down is over. And then we started to see it dip like right after that, pretty much. So right. We've been hanging out in this zone though. I mean, I think is kind of what his point was. Like we have been here a while. I do agree that it has felt good that we've consolidated right here for a while, and it's getting me more confident that there's not going to be much more downside. What do you think about that, Ewok? If you want to bring up the pulse chart, because I think us hanging out here as long as we have for a few weeks now, it is, hopefully meaning we're going to start heading up here soon. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, let's pull it up here. This crazy candle at the very beginning of this chart drives me nuts. So you got to go past it, so
jacks it up.
yeah, so you can actually get some charting out of it.
Yeah,
where's it at? There we go. Yeah, this was our line. This was the line that we were following. Nice steady rise in price, everything like that, and then it broke through it. I think we're looking at, if we can get back through, I guess it would be anywhere right in here. It's going to be like 0.7, 0.8 till it can probably rise, or the 4 zeros and a 7, 5, 6, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm thinking, by the end of this month, probably, if we can break through that, because I think it's going to be resistance for us now that, it's kind of hung out below it. We may tap it a couple times. I hope we can bust through it and then go on to bigger, better things. But yeah, I mean, again, it's still looking healthy. We haven't made lower lows, at least. So, that's a good thing to look at. There are several lower lows down here that it seems to definitely keep bouncing off of. That 0.5, 4 zeros and a 5 has definitely been a strength of it, where it touches it and it boom bounces right back up. So
yeah,
there's definitely things defending it, at least at that price, which was what, half the sack rate. So yeah, I mean, it's looking strong. And again, these things are going to take some time. There are so many things happening right now where this whole chain is growing. It's developing. It's it's not your traditional release a coin and this all community goes crazy kind of thing for something new to take off.
Right.
It is starting from scratch on a whole layer one, with all these protocols, with all these coins, with all these meme coins. There's so many things happening right now that it's got to settle. It's got to find a good place to start until things can really get wild. And I honestly think that's what you're watching and witnessing right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And good news that I did note down and forgot is we did just actually have the first green weekly close in 8 weeks. So, in 9 weeks, it was the first green weekly close. So that may be the start of a good sign. And I agree with you. Yeah, this isn't like a get out of jail right now and just start moonshotting. I mean, I think it's going to be a slow process here. But that's why you can kind of take some solace in the fact that, like, yeah, well, you can be like, well, we pumped in March and stuff like that, and PulseChain really hasn't pumped as much as a lot of other things and blah, blah, blah. Well, the whole market's really come down from those pumps that happened back then. And now that we're really considering this longer time frame and a right translated cycle going deep into 2025, it gives me a little bit more comfort, feeling like things aren't going to have to happen so quickly, that it's like, hey, more time to DCA, more time to be, if you want to stake Hex, if you want to be liquidity providing with PulseChain and PulseX or one of the other pools or something, more time to earn things, and more time, if you want to take chances here and there with small amounts on some of the meme tokens that we're about to discuss to try to increase your bags, because there is ample opportunity to be doing that right now. Like, I don't think that anybody At this rate, if you want to complain, that's fine. I don't think you have any reason to be complaining if you're in this ecosystem with all of these things popping off, like all these opportunities right now. Whether if you don't want to buy Peach or Nanana, whatever, or some of the other Tang Gang coins, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. There's other things that you can do, but I'm not saying that you have to buy them and hold on for dear life and you hold them throughout the whole bull market. There's other things that you can do by taking advantage of some of these opportunities. So I just think there's a lot going on right now. And if people are upset, then they need to maybe get out of their comfort zone a little bit,
Right.
So,
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. But things are starting to turn around, looking pretty good. We're going to get to more PulseChain stuff, obviously, here, and we have a lot of stuff in store tonight. So if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate all of you being here tonight. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just keep trying to decide the best place to go because we have so much going on tonight. So let's hit on
a coin.
Flip a coin. Let's go to this Manet initiative. Actually, I think this is a good idea because we should cover it. So the big thing is outreach. Like a lot of people, like within PulseChain, if you're talking about like, I want this to grow, I want other communities to be aware of it. How do we extend a hand? I don't think the way to do it is just by some of these people on Twitter just like shitting on Solana or AVAX or Phantom all the time and saying, well, PulseChain never goes down. That's fine. Like I understand some of that. But I think there has to be like some actual good outreach, and just using Twitter really isn't always the best way to do that. So we've had this effort, which is just phenomenal, by Gary Woods funding Jim, who has done so much for PulseChain and is the bridger of all bridgers. He's out there like with real business guys all the time, making connections and things like that. And then Rags to Riches, of course, Brandon, those two went down to Mar-a-Lago. And I know B Roots was there too. I mean, they weren't all there as a group, but I know B Roots and Ian were both there. They've been there before as well. Gary's been there before, I believe, too. But they were at Mar-a-Lago. Trump had one of his like rallies there and stuff like that. Lots of good, crypto rhetoric came out of Trump from there that we'll get to as well. But more importantly, you may be for the first time hearing about what Manet is. So if you're familiar with Patrick Bet-David and Valuetainment and the podcast, the companies that he owns, I'm not going to pretend that I know the entire brand that he has, but I'm aware of the PBD podcast and the guys that are on there and stuff like that. But they basically invented an app called Manet, which is a way to basically you can request like an audio or a video question to be answered from like anybody who decides to sign up with it. So like Tulsi Gabbard's on there. She's been high in the standings in this little contest that PBD has been running with Manet that goes through the end of May. Rags to Riches is on there. Gary's on there. KG from Internet Money Wallet, last I looked, was about to take over the #1 spot. He actually overtook Rags to Riches and Gary on there. Yeah. So there's this contest going on. It's a great incentive from PBD. If you win it, I think that there's like a dinner. You actually sit with PBD if you win it. Either way, it's a fantastic way to broadcast your message and get yourself known, because you're getting people that are reaching out to you for answers. So this is just all great. Like, so they're down in Mar-a-Lago. They're participating in the Manet app. What do you make of all this, and what are your thoughts on Manet? Because when I hear about it and what it can do, it's reminding me of do you remember Clubhouse? Do you remember the app?
I do. Okay. I do. Yeah.
So that basically went belly up because Twitter Spaces just kind of like replaced it. Like, it's just like, why would I go to Clubhouse if there's Twitter Spaces? This is not that. This is almost like, if you guys are familiar with, what's the thing where you can request somebody to send you like a birthday message or whatever?
Oh, those are
it starts with a C, I think, and I can't remember what it is. But basically, you can.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
there'd be like different celebrities on there. Somebody will probably shout it out in the chat. But like the celebrities on there, you could be like, "Hey, I want to pay $5,000 for Taylor Swift to wish a happy birthday to my friend," or whatever. Or it could be some like bum old Major League Baseball manager that will do it for $20. Or I mean, right. You could do whatever you want. But it's kind of like that, except there's more value in it. You're actually able to get them to answer a question that you may want to have answered, and they set their own prices for it. So
exactly,
yeah. So what do you make of this whole thing? You've got the leaderboard up, which is awesome. What do you make of these efforts, the Mar-a-Lago trip, all this stuff from these guys? Because this is just great for outreach, I think.
Well, it's funny because, there for a while, Tulsi Gabbard was in the lead.
Yeah,
She has fallen out. Like right now,
totally.
looks like she's still at 100, which I thought she was over 100. I thought she had like 130. I'm not sure what happened there. This Santino guy has stepped in and took the first place over, but uh, Rags, who is Brandon Davis, he was in second place for third place. Um, KG took that over, so he's got 135. Rags got 134, and then funding Jim Gary has 119.
Yep.
So all of these guys are doing extremely well. I mean, if they could make a little run at this, and I know Rags to Riches said, yes, Cameo, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, Rags had said he had like 15 or 20 sitting in his queue. So it looks like he has a chance to. It's going to be great. It's a great thing for especially these guys that know Patrick Bet David, and a lot of those guys are big investors, right? They've got some heavy wallets, and it would be very cool to get them in front of some of these guys talking about PulseChain, talking about the new things that are happening and the growing network effect, and they don't mind taking a chance with some of their money. It's what they do. So, I know Gary networks with a lot of those guys already. He's in good with the Kiyosaki group as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So he spends a lot of time with those guys and the real estate group of it. I forget what the guy's name is on the real estate side that handles a lot of the Kiyosaki group stuff. But either way, it's fantastic. It's a good way for these guys to get their word out there in front of some heavy hitters, and I think it's awesome. It's going to be some. We'll see how it works, but yeah, the word of mouth and the rubbing elbows and the talking to these guys, I think it's going to have a very positive effect.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this event at Mar-a-Lago was great too. And this made waves with like other crypto news, of course.
Yeah.
But Trump was directly asked. Maybe I'm making this up. I feel like it was some dude affiliated with Polygon Matic or something like that. But somebody asked him specifically about crypto, and he gave his like kind of stock answer, clearly showing he doesn't really know all that much, which I don't even expect him to. But frankly, I mean, you're just hoping that there's a candidate out there that doesn't actively try to hurt the industry and totally drive it away from the United States, which is what basically most of the left is doing,
Well, if you heard his comment, what he actually said was, listen, I'm all in favor for it. I want it to be safe. But as long as it's safe, I'm in favor of it, and I'm not against it, which is kind of the perfect answer. We don't want someone that's totally, well, I guess we probably do want someone that's totally pro crypto and let's change the world economy over to
They're not
crypto.
getting elected though. They're dead.
They're not getting elected.
His name was John McAfee.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
guys like that are not going to get elected. But
Yeah.
to take his position and his stand on it, to say, listen, I'm in favor of it as long as it's safe. Let's get some guidelines. Let's make it that way, and have fun. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear all these rulings about how they're going to start punishing people for unrealized capital gains and all these other crazy things with the KYC out your ass. And it's getting crazy, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, and some of the things that are happening in the EU.
Yeah. You know what? That may be a perfect transition, actually.
How about that?
Yeah, that was perfect. I actually have that note right below.
Almost like
topic,
I did that on purpose.
Almost like you did, yeah. So yeah, hey, shout out in the chat if you guys want to say who you voting for: Biden, Trump, I guess Kennedy. You can put on there too. We know how that always turns out with a third party, though. He'll probably end up getting like 2% of the popular vote, and that's how it'll go. But yeah, good to see that stuff from Trump. I mean, and I tend to believe him a little bit more than I would like a standard lifelong Republican politician. Like, honestly, when I was hearing stuff from DeSantis, I was like, I don't know how much I really believe. of what you're saying. Not that Trump is a perpetual truth teller either or anything, but either way, we just want an establishment that isn't actively trying to hurt this industry. That's all we're really asking for. You can be neutral to ignore it. We don't really care. Yeah. So hey, good transition by you. Yeah. So this is back to the whole hashtag Richard Hart was right thing. So, and the guy playing 4D chess. And, this is where people get annoyed by followers of Richard Hart because it's like, why do you guys praise him so much? And this may be one of the reasons why. So there are new EU proposed crypto and DeFi regulations on the horizon. And actually, I will let me copy the actual article and I'm going to send it to you, Ewok, if you want to share it on your screen. It's up to you, but I'm looking at something from Cointelegraph. It says DeFi may struggle to stay decentralized, which is funny, after new EU law. It says DeFi's exemption from MiCA regulation may fade as an update target protocols with centralized components. The sector could split between hybrid and DeFi models. Let me get to that. Wasn't really part of the article. New regulations in the European Union may soon force decentralized finance protocols to make tough decisions. At the heart of the issue is the tendency of many DeFi protocols to have centralized front ends and intermediaries. The EU's markets and crypto assets regulation, which will come into full force by the end of 2024. Luckily, we don't have that here, will require DeFi protocols to adhere to the same licensing as know your customer requirements as traditional financial services firms, a burden many DeFi protocols may be unable and unwilling to bear. Yeah, because it isn't DeFi. According to MakerDAO co-founder Rune Christensen, only full decentralized local downloaded front ends or full KYC online front ends would be possible. All right, so listen to that first part. Only fully decentralized local downloaded front ends, which we happen to have in PulseChain.
Imagine that.
Yeah. It says this leaves DeFi protocols with a choice: either pivot to a somewhat centralized hybrid finance, hi-fi, they call it, model to comply with EU regulations, or decentralize entirely. I think we've done one of those two things. It says true DeFi is exempt from MiCA. Within the actual EU regulation, fully decentralized protocols are exempt from falling into the MiCA requirements, as mentioned in Recital 22, where crypto asset services are provided in a fully decentralized manner without any intermediary. They should not fall within the scope of this regulation. So that pretty much lays it out. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I don't think there's much point. This is just the EU. This isn't the United States. But
for now,
very interesting that one Richard Hart just a mere months ago to, most people didn't care. A few complained about it. If we want to name them, we can. Although if you pay any attention, you may know who they are. But basically, PulseChain, I won't say it was Richard Hart, but someone within PulseChain decided to provide IPFS links, making this basically locally run. You could also download each and every one of the programs, the bridge, PulseX, the DEX. You can, and that's what I've done. That's the only way that I've used them. I think you're the same way, Ewok. It's the only way I've used them now for months. I download it locally on my PC and run it from there. You're not even connected to the internet at that point. You're just running it locally. Right here, even in this, potential deal from the EU, they are citing that would be true decentralization and that it would be exempt from this stuff. So did Richard Hart see this stuff coming down the pike? Those changes were made when we were at enormous red candles and everybody was already in a negative mood anyway. But I think this is awesome. It's like 2 extra clicks. That's what a lot of us were saying all along, to be able to use this in true decentralized fashion. So yeah, what do you make of these potential rulings from the EU and the fact that PulseChain has already passed it?
I think it's, I think it's a testament to Richard being, again, 2 or 3 steps ahead. He probably heard about this coming. The man does a lot of research. He knows a lot of things. And he's always thinking chess moves, right? How many steps ahead can I be and figure this out before it becomes a problem? And he did precisely that, so I don't know. It goes on to say something here about smart contracts that are used in the provision of a crypto asset service are in themselves not even suitable to create the appearance of exclusive decentralization, which is a weird statement. You know, I don't understand. You know, it says one thing up here where, you know, it says fully decentralized protocols are exempt, but then it goes down to here and smart contracts aren't suitable. So, you know, they're kind of they're doing what Gary does and talks in circles a little bit. So I don't think they have completely decided. But again, it goes, you know, the moral of the story is this is testament to why Richard's done the things he's done. And yes, the Karens out there who complained about it, the gold ones, especially.
The silver, I was gonna say the silver Karens, the gold Karens, whatever.
Yeah. You know, there's a reason for it, guys. And, you know, he took care of that whole thing because now you can download it, run it locally on your machine and not need any of this stuff. So just such a smart play. You know, I'm always impressed. You know, I don't want to be a fangirl here, but
here he goes, sucking up to RH again.
Well, it's just it's crazy to me how many times that little things like this pop up. That, you know, well, there it is. He thought about it. He made this call ahead of time, months ahead of time. You know, was he getting some inside information from somebody saying, "Hey, this is coming. You might want to take care of this now." Possibly, but still, he had the foresight to do it, and now it's working perfectly. So, kudos to him, man. It's just it's just testament to say, man, we're in the right place with the right founder because he's looking out for people, trying to save your ass. He doesn't want you to have to give up your personal information. Why? So it can just get leaked. Just like the ledger, all that stuff, you know, all these people that have collected all your info over time. How many times do you see that they've been breached or hacked, and now you're part of a multi-lawsuit, you know, that says here, give you a free credit check and $3.22 or something like that for getting your information stolen. He doesn't want us to be a part of that, man. He's looking out for people, and once people truly understand that and see it, the world will be a much better place, and PulseChain will definitely get even more adoption because of it. So I'm happy with it. I'm pleased with it, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Well, you know, and I don't even think it has to be that he, you know, had people on the lookout for stuff like this and ears to the ground. I mean, maybe he did, but I mean, he's very abreast of what is going on with crypto regulation throughout the world, really. I mean, like, you can tell, I mean, since he's been, you know, tweeting a lot about like regulation within the United States and helping out crypto lawyers and stuff like that, the guy knows more than your average crypto founder, it seems. So yeah, I'm sure that was a layup for him to know that this was potentially down the line. And it's just so funny that like within that documentation we just saw from the EU, they actually go out of their way to, and again, you're right, talking out of both sides of their mouth, and how much do they really even understand about the industry also. But they go out of their way to specifically say that those basically what we have running on PulseChain would be exempt. Like that actually is DeFi, you know, there's no centralized front end, you know. It's awesome, and it just makes me like more happy to be involved in it. And again, people could talk about like, and again, these are only people already within the PulseChain ecosystem, but people talk about like the complexities of like, oh, nobody's going to want to do that. They're not going to download a program and do this and do that. I mean, at the point that you already are willing to even get into DeFi, you're a bit of a freak. You know what I mean? Like you're a little bit of, you know, you're interested in this. You're a little weird. You're like all of us, you know, you're really wanting to be in this industry. Retail are people who is like, oh yeah, I bought Ethereum and staked it on Coinbase or whatever. Like those people have no idea. Like they're not gonna, like they're like, oh yeah, or Robinhood. They're like, oh yeah, well I know what the idea of a wallet is, but I kind of have one, but I don't really understand it. Like they literally don't even have a wallet. So if you're at the point that you're like, even if you're not dealing with PulseChain, even if you're in like AVAX or Phantom or Matic or whatever, Polygon, you have at least taken another step, you know, Solana, to get into a new network and be doing stuff in DeFi. So I think once you've gone that far, you know, what do they say? Once you go, well, I won't go down that road, but you know, once you go that far, I mean, I think you're willing to keep going, basically.
And no coming back. Something like that.
Right, the gateway drug of DeFi, basically. So, yeah, basically, I guess PulseChain's the heroin. I don't really know what you would call that, but in a good way. But yeah, so, good stuff.
Cool.
Do you have any final thoughts on that topic? I love that. We've just kind of seen that over the last couple of days. It's great, though.
Yeah, it just gives me more confidence in the choice that I've made to be a part of this, part of this ecosystem. And
yeah,
again, it's just very reassuring to see something like that come out. Be like, there you go. We're already covered.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, we're already there. We don't have to worry about anything. So,
yeah.
Shout out to all you guys: Vanilla the Hexagon, Brownies, Midlife Adventure, Marco. Some interesting names in here tonight. Shout out you guys. Hit the like if you're enjoying the stream so far. We appreciate you being here. Let's hop into Tang Gang. So we just saw Marco talk about he's loaded up on a Tropa. One thing I noticed with Marco, okay, he clearly heavily invested in Icosa a few months back, and all our chat was Icosa. I remember one night. Now he may have uncomfortably invested in a Tropa, maybe P-Dye and Teddy Bear. More power to him. I own them all. But yeah, shout out to you, Marco. I'm glad you're involved. Let's get into the Tang Gang stuff here. So there's a lot of angles to cover here. So if you're not, I'm not going to do the whole history of the Tang Gang, but basically HOA, Hex Orange Address, was basically the first token of the Tang Gang. Okay. Too Spooky is not like the Tang Gang, but he's the guy on Twitter that is, he's created the bulk of the tokens within the Tang Gang on PulseChain. Peach, Nanana, whatever else, PPAP, all these, fruit, rat, whatever else. And if I misspeak on any of this for any Tang Gang, super fans, correct me, please. But Too Spooky, got Orange Gooey. I think he's like the main guy that kind of started it all. I don't know. But Too Spooky seems to be very active on Twitter, and he's a really good follow. But he just launched another token, Peach, the other night. I believe Ewok and I both degened, unless you didn't want me to tell them that you did, Ewok. I already did. So I'm curious what your thoughts are as we see another token come out from the Tang Gang. I have been avidly watching and following. Hex Tangent made this beautiful Tang Gang Sharks Excel sheet that shows you like how much it takes to be a shark. It has all the tokens that are official Tang Gang tokens, so people don't get scammed if there's somebody that pretends they're affiliated with the Tang Gang and they're really not. It has all kinds of quantitative stuff about it, what the memes mean and things like that. It's fantastic. Like a whole
Share it with me. I'll put it up.
I will. Yeah, it's very, very comprehensive of everything they have going on. And again, I think it's a good safety thing for people to have to know that they're really dealing with the Tang Gang. But so many tokens have been launched now, many of them fruit related, basically. And I'm wondering, a lot of people are saying they've all performed very, very well. Like we just see that what's beautiful about them is they're all fair launched. They come out of nowhere. Like Peach, I think that was on Thursday or Friday night, and I ran to my computer real quick to buy a bag on its way up as it just launched. That's what happens with these. I did the same thing with Nanana. I think this is awesome. Like I love that they do this. It's a fair launch. It comes out of nowhere. It's unannounced usually. And then it's just all systems go. And, I bought PPAP. I've had a good 5 or 6x off of that so far. And, what I want to ask is like, they have been performing so well. It would stand to reason for somebody to ask with so many tokens. I think Axis alluded to this before. Many other people would ask, at what point is there some kind of a dilution effect? Like, can that happen? Will that happen to these tokens? Because right now, none of them are really showing any sign of that. Just the other day, of course, it was a Sami video, and he talks about something that hasn't really lifted off yet, and it will. But he talked about the Trump token, OMG, Orange Man Good. Giant green candles all of a sudden. I would wait for a pullback on something like that. But it's just insane what they're doing here. And at this point, I understand not everybody's into memes and stuff like that, but something's going on here with these guys. Something clearly is going on, and people have a thirst for this. It doesn't matter if you don't like it, anybody, but they do. So anyway, give me your thoughts on all this, Ewok. Because it really seems like it is turning. I messaged you today. KDP finally is mixing it up in memes. I never thought I would see it. Today she's talking about, dick with butt is better than bear or whatever. I'm like, KDP is even into memes now. So, yeah, what do you make of this? I'm interested to get your take.
Well, I have mixed emotions, mixed feelings, obviously, coming from what I know and what, with Hex, the way things kind of started out. But we kind of have to, obviously, when you start a layer one, you have to really let your, you don't have to let your guard down, but you have to be more open to all of these things happening, right? I mean,
Right.
you want the network to grow. And it's funny because this we'll talk about this maybe after this conversation, but the difference between Metcalfe's law and Reed's law, right?
Mhm.
Reed's law is all these different communities that have kind of sprung up, right? You've got the Tang Gang, you've got the B Roots group, you've got the Axis and
Mhm.
their Solid X protocol, and you've got um, the PH guys, and you've got
Yep.
it's just all of these little things that are onboarding new people even into their group before it really goes into the full group, right? It's still all PulseChain, but each one of these guys or each one of these groups are still responsible for their onboards too, until they find out the rest of this stuff. So it's very cool. These guys have a very strong liquidity provider mentality background,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
They want you to buy in and then provide liquidity. If you want to get out, use the liquidity to get out, because that way it doesn't harm the price. You're not going to see these crazy candles. People are going to buy into your bids if you have single-sided liquidity, and it allows you to exit. You can pick a price. Where do you want to get out? Um, and set it and kind of forget it. So it's their stuff, their teachings could definitely be used in the rest of the space.
Mhm.
Um, as far as not harming price, not having these huge red candles. And a lot of times you don't tend to see those. I mean, they happen occasionally. People are going to be impatient there. You could even have haters that get in early just to get out and dump the price on people because they don't like them. I think a
Right.
lot of people did that to Hex in the very beginning. I think they didn't care about it. They wanted their gains. They didn't care about the price. They dumped it all at once instead of setting limit orders to get out safely and without hurting the price, without creating red candles, things like that. So, yeah, I'm impressed with them. I kind of think as much as Too Spooky and Orange Gooey. Orange Gooey was, I think, one of the I think he's the one that kind of started a lot of this stuff. He went on
I think
the spaces a lot with talking about memes, right? I mean, that was their big push, was that the memes are what gets adoption, especially for Twitter. When you're on
so.
Twitter, the memes are the things that capture people's attention. And that's what they've pushed along with the providing liquidity. So it's a little bit different than others. But listen, man, we need all of them. We need all of these groups. So I've never had. They're a little toxic sometimes. I've seen and I've heard people go into their Telegram and ask for help, and they kind of, you know, it's always the ones that are serious about asking for help that get kind of turned off by some of the toxicity. But again, you're going to have that on Twitter. It's a degen wasteland, especially, and that's the only criticism that I would have of this particular group, is that I've heard reports of a lot of people saying that there's a lot of toxicity within that. So for them to be, hopefully be a little bit more accepting of people that are trying to learn, they get pointed in that direction, and be patient with them a little bit. I know people can be, when they're learning, it can be a pain in the ass, but you're only going to help improve the network growth and things like that when you do walk them through it a little bit. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
all really
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
And I want to answer Vanilla the Hexicans. question here, because you were kind of just alluding to this. I'll be honest with you, totally honest. I don't pay attention to really hardly any drama on Twitter.
Yeah.
And if there is any with some of those guys, okay, I really, the prices of the charts are going up, and I like what they're doing in that regard. So I don't even know what else is going on there. But shout out Vanilla the Hexagon. He's talking about, I was telling him Twitter is a good resource, for finding out like if a new token drops or like little pieces of news like that. And, he talks about it being such a cancer, and it definitely is, just like Ewok just alluded to. But don't follow those people or mute them. Find the people that have good info, put alerts on for them, and mute everything else. Like, you can use Twitter in a way that blocks out all the noise and just gets you the good stuff. Because trust me, there are gems out there, and if you could just put alerts on for certain people like that, and ignore some of the other drama, then I think you'll be fine. So that's what I do. That's how I got into Peach as soon as it came out. I think Too Spooky tweeted about it, and I saw Sami did. And it's not like I got in on the ground floor. I just knew riding that initial green candle up was probably going to be beneficial, and it has so far. So but yeah, well, the Tang Gang stuff, I did have more on the Tang Gang. I wanted to save that for in a minute, if you don't mind, Ewok, that super chat, because I just want to finish this point. Because I did have thoughts about fame too. But I want to ask you this, Ewok. Now, this is not financial advice. We're not telling you what to do, but we can share like our best practices and what we want to do with the Tang Gang stuff. If you are somebody that's like around or quick enough to like, hey, I picked up Peach and I got a 5x off it. I got PPAP last week and I got a few X's out of it. What do? Am I just holding it throughout the duration of the bull market and hoping to make like a, 10x on my pulse or whatever? Or what am I trying to do? Do I want to take profits on the way up? If this doesn't really have much backing it, it's really just meme power. Do I want to take out some profits or something like that? I personally, kind of what I like to do is if I get in on one of these and I get like pretty substantial gains, like if I get like a 5x or something like that, you just have to figure out how you want to do it. But I get to a point where I want to de-risk a little bit. Like there may be a point where I'm like, okay, I love this. I absolutely am keeping a bag of this. I have no intentions of selling this whole position now because it's still spring of 2024, But I also see that Nanana is at a new all-time high against Pulse. I've made like an 8x on it at this point. I'm going to at least take out my principal, or maybe like 2x my principal, and I'm going to buy Pulse and Pulse X back with it. You know what I mean? I think that is that's what I like to do, just to de-risk a little bit and feel safe on the way up. But I still want to hold my position too. Everybody's different. You can do it however you want to. If you don't want to take profits along the way, that's fine. I just think that, if you're seeing some of these things run really hard against Pulse, you might feel comfortable if you go ahead and rotate some back into Pulse, since it's so down against these tokens in the short term. So that's been awesome for me. Like, again, we alluded to it at the top of the show. If you're upset at the current price action and stuff like that, this is one of those things you could be doing to try to stack more Pulse, Pulse X, Hex, whatever it is you're into. So what do you make of that, Ewok? And what might some of your strategies be?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good strategy. For me, though, I usually end up buying and holding it forever until it pretty much bottoms out and goes to zero, and forget to sell along the way. That's one of the reasons why I don't degen into too many things, because I always forget to take profits. I think, well, maybe it'll go up again, but knowing that meme coins really only last one cycle, will these be different? Because there is a different community around all of it. I don't know. Doge was a meme coin, and look at it. It's been around for how many cycles, and it still continues to do all-time highs again. So it's going to be one of those interesting things. I definitely recommend, though, that you do get out your principal at least. And especially if you spent your Pulse bag or Pulse X bag or whatever you may have gotten out of, if you have a better ratio and can take it out and still leave yourself a moon bag, that's going to be ideal. Obviously, you don't want to hurt your initial bag that you had. And if you can replace it and still keep a moon bag, so when it does come up, it's a win-win, right? So you can capture those gains later when the bull market is in full force and these things are going crazy. And you haven't hurt the bag that you kind of risked on. So, I think that's ultimately probably the best way to manage them.
Yeah, I am with you there as well. I wanted to say this to Marco real quick. He rode Gopher's Sol up 4x and sold it back into PulseX. Lucky you. You must not have done the actual like sacrifice portion and just bought it after it totally tanked after it launched. So good for you anyway.
Let's get to Fast Abdul. I mean, he threw us a super chat. We want to acknowledge it. Yep. He says, get ready for PH ecosystem comeback. Prime to Fucks pre-mint on now 7 to 10 days to 2.5.5x yield. So apparently they're about to launch something, or the pre-mint is happening right now. I'm not overly familiar with it, so definitely look into it.
Well, I wanted to say
thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat. And I wanted to say about that too. I actually was starting to get interest in looking into maybe getting a little bit of fame, because that chart right now finally looks like it has stopped bottoming out. It looks like it started to come up a little bit, and it's about time because it's been so long now. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense for that to be where it is. It's just starting to get really undervalued. And yeah, I like where that's at right now. So that's good timing. I think we will start to hear more good stuff from all the PH team stuff, and particularly the Fame token, I think, is on a rebound right now. So and it's I mean it's decimated. So if you want something to, that's way down against Pulse, I think it's probably like 80% down against Pulse right now. I mean, it's bad. Yeah, I'll try to look it up real quick just while we're looking. But yeah, I'm not saying to buy a ton or anything, but it definitely is. It's starting to trend up a little bit. But yeah. Let me see.
He says that Fame is a fork of GMX, and GMX is one of the things that did do well in a bear market. I do remember seeing that. So
yeah, it's down about 75% right now.
Yeah,
against Pulse.
There's a lot of things, man, that are very undervalued.
Chart doesn't look pretty, but I mean,
our whole ecosystem is way undervalued. So you could probably throw a dart at just about anything at this point. As long as there's people building on it, and there are people coming on board, you're gonna probably do okay with a lot of these things that are forks of other things that are solid contracts. You're gonna be quite well.
Yeah, I think so too. So appreciate that, Fast Abdul. Everybody look into the PH ecosystem for sure, and look at the Fame token, because it does look like it's starting to rebound here. So good stuff.
Well, and don't forget, it's one of the ways to combine liquidity, right? It's one of the protocols where you can put 5 or 6 things into one liquidity pair. There's one that is probably, I'm sure there's a Tang Gang pair where it may have HOA and DWB and Nana and Peach and all of those things, and you may put 20% of each one, so that anytime any trading happens, you're earning fees off of it. So there's a lot of money to be made passively with liquidity providing, and I think you can earn the Fame token, right, or stake it and you earn. I forget how that whole thing works over there, but there are some tokens where you just hold them and you earn fees too. So definitely check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff going on everywhere. You just can't keep up with all of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of stuff going on there. DJ Moonboy with a super chat too. Appreciate that. And we just saw this from Dudley. We missed out on. We missed out on ticker PulseChain. That's another one that has been blowing up too. It's not Tang Gang. Oh, actually, maybe it is. It is on that chart now that I might think of it. It is down at the bottom. External communities that lean heavily into Tang Gang, they do have PulseChain listed as a token down there. So I don't want to confuse people by that. If there's any noobs watching or anything, that is not the actual Pulse PLS token. That is a PulseChain meme. And basically it's been up only, and I don't know that I'd buy it right now. But I've looked into that a little bit. So
what is it?
It's a PulseChain token. If you type PulseChain into DEX Screener rather than Pulse or PLS, you will see that token. And it's Peter Parker Bush did 9/11 Kirby Pepe. That's the name of the token. It's ticker PulseChain. Yeah. Now that I said that on air, we're definitely demonetized. But yeah, I mean, it's just basically one straight green candle. So I would say buy at your own risk right now. But kudos to you guys who did buy when it was down low anyway. But it's kind of off for the races. I'll wait for a pullback on that one and see what's going on. Yeah. Anyway,
just looking at some of these names.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at this
the
chart.
Tang Gang names.
Yeah.
Oh, I can help you out off the air. I've degened pretty hardcore into some of these. So there's a couple on a slight pullback right now. The thing with the Tang Gang stuff is it's like if there's a 30% pullback plus, that's when I'm like, okay, I might want to start watching this one. Whereas other coins, you're like waiting for complete death. With these, it's like 40, 50%. Like when I bought the pineapple coin, PPAP, it was 60% down. And it was one of the few fruit ones that hadn't run yet. And I got like a 7x on it in days. I mean, It was insane.
Yeah, and that's another problem too. And the way I look at things too, if I don't catch the first 3 big up green candles, I'm not touching it, man. And I think that's why Dick with Butt, that's one of the ones where I felt the same way. And I was like, man, I'm late. I'm not catching it. Because I have degened into some of them, and then you buy at the top, and then there's a pullback, and now you've got to wait either that or you got to buy in more, which not really comfortable doing. I mean, granted, a 50% pullback where you're getting twice the amount of coins is one thing, but I really didn't want to put that much more in, right? I don't want to DCA down, and so you get stuck holding a bag where it's not. Is it coming back? Is it you got to wait for how long? And so just be very cautious of that.
I agree with you 100%.
Is very important.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, it's not even that you're hating Dick with Butt or anything like that. It's just that, like, it's maybe you need to go get tits with vag or whatever it's called. But you want to make sure you get a good price. That's the bottom line. So that guy shouted out PulseChain. We have OMG, that Trump coin right now. They're all at all-time highs right now. Like, I'm not gonna buy it right now. People are, but I'll wait for. There's a couple right now in the Tang Gang that I have my eye on. That I might DCA to into the coming days because there are pullbacks right now. So that's what I would say is look for a pullback. So
for sure.
Okay, we don't have too much more time, so let's go to. I think we got to talk about 9inch. Huge updates from Hexy Bastard over the last couple of days. I believe he spoke at the PulseChain conference, probably, where he announced some of them there. Yeah. Which we'll kind of acknowledge obviously the huge PulseChain conference as well, huge efforts from Matty Allen and all that stuff, which was terrific. But 9inch with some big time updates here. So we've got V3 on 9inch has launched. Hexy Bastard was kind of away for a while. Now he's back. Just started a round of interviews. I just saw him on with Corey Costa a little bit earlier today. But they launched V3 liquidity. As well as stable swaps, which will also allow for yield on stable coins, which people are always, after in the bear market, different LPing and things like that. You told me they already had this feature, but earlier I heard Hexy Bastard say this to Corey Costa, that the auto DCA method that they have is his favorite thing that they're doing right now. Basically that you can set an auto DCA into a token with all these different types of intervals, whether it be like per block or however you want to do it, like amount, like there's basically all these parameters and dials that you can tweak for how you want a DCA to occur, which obviously helps you with slippage and things like that. So just terrific updates by these guys. And it's cool to see him working so hard. I will say straight up, and I know I'm not the only one, like I think I judged him stupidly off of a couple of fairly inebriated streams he was on, where I, hadn't seen much more of him. But seeing him speak today and at the PulseChain conference and stuff like that, I mean, the guy has a good head on his shoulders, is very smart, knows what's going on with this, and is unbelievably driven. So, yeah, kudos to him. And 9inch, basically the second biggest DEX behind PulseX right now. So what do you make of some of these updates? What are your experiences or feelings about 9inch? And then I have a couple follow-ups here for you about that.
Yeah, lots of stuff, man. These guys are building like crazy. I know a lot of people gave him grief because he had a sacrifice. And there were a lot of people that were upset and pissed off that he didn't provide a bunch of liquidity and he didn't do a whole bunch of other things. When they sacrifice their money, they forget what it means. So all these people thought they had a right or expected him to do something. Well, it turns out he's been building.
Right.
He also, I don't know, did you hear about the Lowest of Stakes, the movie?
Yes, I still didn't watch it, but yeah,
I
I
haven't
have.
watched it either.
I love the idea.
But just stuff like that. He's marketing. He's doing things. He's building. He's obviously. I don't think he's a dev, but he's hired devs. Maybe he is himself. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But either way, this is that DCA. It's called Inch by Inch. So it's a pretty cool platform.
Just the tip.
Yep, just the tip. It says I want to allocate this token to buy this token every. And you can change this to every 1 day, every 2 days. You can do every block. You can do every 2 days if you want. Over.
That's my token right there, I guess. The Boi Crypto token, BBC.
Yeah.
Okay.
BBC.
Thanks. Yeah.
So that is their token on
9
Inch as well. And I believe that as well is their fee token. So that's another good one out there. But yeah, so I want to allocate Pulse to buy BBC every 2 days over 12 orders. So that will cover basically 24 days. And it's cool. It will just dollar cost in at whatever time every 2 days. It's a pretty cool tool, man. That'll give you a nice average play. You might catch some dips. You might buy some higher if you want to do that. But, I like to have a little bit more control. But for people that may be going on vacation and say, hey, I'm going to allocate some, let's DCA over the next 2 weeks until I get back. And hopefully I catch some good prices. Cool way, So, there's that. There's there's all kind of tools. There's a deploy where you can deploy that. I know GoPulse has that as well. There's staking, there's farms, there's all kind of cool pairs where they have, and some decent, look at this, a 9-inch die pair is earning 165% on your farms. So there are some definitely good ones if you're up for that kind of risk.
Yeah,
there's
a little risky.
The PLSX pair that you and I both like. You're getting 12.6 APR over here, and I believe you're earning the 9-inch token. So whereas on PulseX you are earning the incentive token. So just a little bit different. But yeah, there's a lot of cool pairs. You can pair Hex and eHex too, I believe. Here's that pair.
You used to be able to do that on PulseX.
You used to be able to, and you got profit for it. I think they're still on the V3 level of you can do it and you just get the fees. But this one you earn BBC and fees. So check it out if you're a liquidity provider type person and want to play around with some of these. Just again, be careful of the loss, the impermanent loss feature, but stay on top of it. And yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm impressed by all the stuff that they've done and continuously doing. Kudos to him.
I totally agree. Yeah. And I'm excited to see his stretch of interviews that he says he's going to be doing over the coming weeks for sure. I want to ask you this because I don't know if I heard it in his actual interview with Corey today, but people are asking like, okay, why are we getting, not that they don't want these, but hey, why is it so easy for 9-inch to like implement all these changes, implement all these things that we've wanted PulseX to have, and they're just doing it easily. And it's here and they're doing it and it's fine and we love it. But why doesn't PulseX have anything like this? Why doesn't PulseX have single-sided? Why does PulseX basically have nothing that all these people have wanted is what they're saying basically, other than the buy and burn already in there, which, no other DEX really utilizes in crypto. Right. And people have been saying that. And Hexy Bastard on that interview today had some good takes. And I agreed with him where it's like, in my opinion, well, number one, they're more larger full-scale changes that PulseX would have to make. But the bigger point to me is also that I think it's 100% intentional that PulseX has not put any of them out yet. I think it's purely a marketing thing.
Yep.
I think that it's like, we're waiting for uber bullish times to come. ETH new all-time highs, ETH ETF approval. All of a sudden, oh, what do you know? PulseX has single-sided staking or limit orders or whatever. And, the green candles resulting from that news are there, and they're sustainable rather than some of these limp ones that we had back in March that have basically evaporated already.
Yep. Yeah, my personal opinion is that those things will get launched when we are in the start of the stride, I think, of the bull market, when things really start to take off. It's going to be one of the initiators for that. You start to see these features come up, and look out. I think that probably means that the non-believers are out finally. Why would you want to reward these people that don't believe, right? I think that's part of it. And I agree with you 100% that it's totally intentional. I'm not releasing all these features for all these ungrateful MFs. You know what I mean? Why would I do that? Why would I reward them and give them something when I know they're this close to selling their bags and leaving? Because they don't believe in what we're doing here. So completely agree. I think it's all marketing, and I think he's waiting until the right time. So
yeah. I think so too. I would be doing the same thing. And something Hexy Bastard said today, which makes a lot of sense too, is like, he also, is in tune, and they're in tune with everything that's going on with the market right now. I think the phrase he used was that they're in the trenches, and he knows exactly what people want right now. And, there may be a lot less to lose for him and that team for launching certain things right now if it isn't like the most green candle, friendly environment at the moment. Whereas for PulseX, you really want to kind of more so capitalize on that because there's a lot more money already sitting in PulseX. I mean, the whole reason that it's performed the way it has over the last year is because of how much money was already in there. So, yeah, I think it's just easier. Not that it's easy, but I think it's easier to make the decision if you're 9-inch to implement some of that stuff right now. Whereas PulseX, you have to be a little bit more careful with, the leverage that you're putting on those kind of announcements. So
completely agree.
Do you have any other final thoughts on 9-inch? I mean, super bullish overall and awesome to see them doing so well.
No other thoughts. I'm trying to get my camera to focus.
Okay, no problem. Why don't we round out on this? And I'm going to let you totally take this, and I don't want to get way too in the weeds on it because I do want to wrap up here shortly. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this iBurn thing. I saw somebody already mentioning GIF, the Gifford token, which I am not as much familiar with right now, full disclosure. But it launches for Icosa Hedron. What does this mechanism actually do, I guess? And what is the GIF token? What is Gifford, this token that comes along with it? Because again, I've kind of had a little bit more tunnel vision the last few days, and I'm hoping you have some more insight to add Ewok. I have heard some people talking about it, but it seems to be something built for Icosa that should help it, but I also see some people wondering why it was built for Icosa. So, I don't know if you heard everything that I just said. Or...
Yeah, I heard you. I'm just still playing with my camera. So Gifford is the guy, I believe, that kind of created this stuff. There we go. Finally back in focus. And so I'm not overly certain the percentages of how it works. It's meant to create parity between chains, right? And then this iBurn is specifically for Icosa. Not exactly sure. You use Icosa to mint the GIF, or I think, or maybe I'm not sure exactly what you get, but a percentage of that PulseChain or whatever then does get bought back in to the particular token, and then it burns it. So it's basically another buy and burn functionality that will use arbitrage opportunity to bring things to parity. And I was like, well, does this work with anything? Like, why wouldn't we do this with X? I mean, it makes sense to do that, and they didn't really answer my question. So I saw it on. I don't remember if it was the F and Hangout on Friday night when they were talking about it. I know RG3 has something to do with it. I know Crypto Kool-Aid has something to do with it. Those guys were the instrumental in the marketing portion of it. But yeah, Icosa now is very close. In fact, let's take a little look-see here on the two different chains. Let me share my
Icosa, and I will say for Icosa's sake, I mean, those two have been, I think, tighter than most to parity on both chains, actually.
well, and it's kind of stayed that way, right? Over time. Like it didn't go too far apart. So Icosa on PulseChain is 13 cents.
Looks like just below 13 cents on Ethereum, actually.
13.4 on PulseChain, yeah. And then I thought I had Icosa on here too, but I guess not. Let's just look. Oop.
I'm seeing like 12.6 cents.
Why did that do that? I must have hit the ad.
Or 12
you're seeing
cents,
what?
Depending on where you look. Right about 12 cents. I mean, it's fairly close.
So we're looking at 13.47 on PulseChain and 11.98, almost 12 cents on Ethereum. And that's V2. But yeah, I mean, they're within a penny and a half at 13 cents. Right. So, they're closing in together pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, if that's what the protocol is doing, and then that the GIF token itself is what's getting bought essentially and not sold. So, I mean, that's the game theory behind that one is any token that gets bought and not sold, that's kind of what your outcome is, right? It's a straight up candle,
right?
Essentially. So, but I feel like there's going to have to be some selling pressure here at some point. So, I don't know a whole lot about the mechanics of it, but I do know, like I said, that's kind of how it works, right? It takes it takes what you put in, and then it takes a percentage of it, buys and burns part of the supply, so that it will in itself help with the arbitrage of getting them to parity. So enough volume will do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And of icosahedron, I mean, Icosa is the more scarce one to begin with also. I mean, it's kind of the hotter commodity.
Yeah.
And I've definitely acquired some on both chains over the last couple of months. So definitely bullish to see this. It would be nice. I don't know if and when Alex McWhorter will update on any of the things that he's working on, but I mean, we know that he's working on more cross-chain stuff for icosahedron, where basically one token, which will be icosahedron, will be created, and you will have, I think you said like a 30-day window where you can send in your current tokens from either chain to basically get that. So
yeah, the
I don't want to
version. Yep.
Right. And I don't want to go too far with that and say any, total specifics, because who knows, it may change a bit by the time he actually does come out with that.
Right. And he's been quiet. Like we haven't heard much from Alex, and when Alex is quiet, he's working.
Definitely.
So I don't know how this will affect that, what he's doing. I would assume that these guys have at least reached out to him. I would hope so anyway. And said, listen, this is our plan. We know, Alex is a cool dude. He's done a lot for the community. Very selfless. You know what I mean? He's put out things that are locked contracts, no middlemen, that work and just work, so I would hope that these guys had reached out to him before that they launched it. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with any of the plans, or he doesn't have to rewrite something now yet again, because things have changed, right?
Right.
So yeah, just thinking out loud, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. We know Alex is definitely working and definitely not shaving. So his beard anyway. I don't know about anywhere else, but yeah, kudos to him. We're definitely looking forward to all that. So good stuff from iBurn there. We got a Peach fan in the house. There we go. Just hit another new all-time high, it looks like. So
yeah, Fast Abdul said they have informed Alex. So good stuff.
Cool. Appreciate that, man. All right, let's just wrap up talking about real quick, just Pulse conference so far, because I have somebody calling for my attention here a little bit. So PulseCon, Matty Allen, we can't ever say enough with how much he provides his community. I know some people recently were like, oh, he launched a token and there's a sacrifice phase and I have a problem. I mean, whatever. I mean, like, he basically has carte blanche at this point with how much he's done. For free, a lot of it to, and take time out of his own life, out of his own days, setting up and organizing these conferences of all these terrific speakers. You and I even talked about, like, maybe we both didn't watch as much of it as we traditionally would, not for any reason other than, like, we know all these people. Well, yeah, that too. Busy, but also, like, we know these people. We're kind of in the community. And I think it's more of a spectacle for other communities to see. I mean, that's what we want to be doing, is showing, like, look what we have going on here. Look at this conference that runs, like, every year without fail. How many other people can say this? And I did see some great segments. I saw, like, Money Gang with Big Krakowski and David Fader, which was a really good one. Whichever one Frank Molina was on, we're obviously very familiar with Frank, and that one was terrific. I mean, so many good people. I saw Axis on there. I mean, like, a lot of great conversations. So really just overall, like, another reason that I'm so pumped to be part of the community and feel like we're in the absolute right place, because the thing that people forget is the community is what you want in crypto, not necessarily the tech. Even if the tech is good, and even if we are as decentralized, more than anybody else, like we talked about at the top of the show, the community is just crazy. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, you can fork the code, but you can't fork a community. And it just goes to show the amount of work that Matty puts in every year. And it's not just the Pulse conference. He does the Hex conference too. So he's doing this like twice a year. Thanklessly. I mean, there are so many people out there that, I tell you what, if people that have bad things to say about Matty, they probably have some of their own issues, man. How do you find bad things to say about this guy? Because he's always doing things selflessly. He's not making anything. In fact, I forget whether it was Liquid Loans or one of the sponsors of this year's thing. They put 10 grand up into a pool. And Matty said, hey, if you were a speaker, come claim your share of the money that was donated. I'm giving it to all the speakers that spoke this year. I mean, who does that, right?
Right.
It's just the things that he does for this community. Shout out to him, Matty. Golf clap. I appreciate you. A lot of people appreciate you, and fade the haters. But yeah, job well done. It went off again without a hitch, and kudos to him. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the speakers as well. I forgot about Frank's. I caught that. I missed the David Feeder and Kurkowski one. I wish I could have seen that. I haven't seen Feeder really much lately.
That's why I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I spoke to, like, I met him at the conference. We hung out quite a bit when I was in Vegas and talked with David's a very cool guy, down to earth dude.
Definitely.
So wish I would have caught that, but I know it's mostly for a lot of people who want to find out more about the community and things like that. But yeah, just awesome. And again, thanks again. Thank you probably isn't enough, but he does a great job every year.
Amen to that. Yeah. Really glad to be part of this community, and awesome that Matty does all that work. So probably go back and watch some replays of that. Of some stuff I didn't catch. Looks like you got somebody calling you as well. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We appreciate all you guys being here. Ivor, ETH is going to pump soon. Don't worry about it. Claudia, Vanilla the Hexagon, KD, Fast Abdul, appreciate the super chat and all your kind words. Boppy, C-Hex, my Pulse, Team RH, KD, 10 Top, of course, DJ Moonboy. All you guys, really appreciate you being here tonight. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern PM every Wednesday. I already said that part. But yeah, like the video if you enjoy real DeFi and this channel. We appreciate you all supporting us. So we will see you next week right here. I am Boi Crypto. So for Crypto Ewok, we'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto live stream. We'll see you guys.